Okay, if I can get your attention, we'll get started. If I can get your attention. Okay, so by this time, you've all seen, or hopefully all seen, the film The Grand Illusion, and we're all masters of identity research by now as well. But the thing you don't know about is social identity theory and social identity research, which is the body of research that you most need to know for doing well on this paper. So today, what we're going to focus on is research, theory and research about social identity and social identity theory, about intergroup conflict, and then we're also going to talk about specifically the film The Grand Illusion, and try and give you some leverage, some analytical leverage, some places to grasp on as you go to analyze, comprehend, and understand this film. Okay, if I get your attention, please. Thank you. So, really quickly, before we get started, what I want to do today is I want to review past stuff on identity that we've done over the last week or so, and just make sure that we're all, up to where we're at right now, and then dive into social identity theory. Maybe do the first half or so of the social identity theory lecture, and then cut to the Grand Illusion after the break. Okay, that way you'll have some basic principles about social identity going into the weekend, so that if you want to, you can work on your paper then, and you'll also have all of the Grand Illusion material that I'll give you, again, before the weekend. So, before we get started, a little bit of trivia. Who's this? Okay, the song that was playing before class was by what band? Damn right. And then what war was it about? The Spanish Civil War, exactly. What picture from up here corresponds to that war? Is it this one? No, so that isn't Spain. Very close. This? What war is this? U.S. Civil War. Is it this? Is it this? Yes. This is a famous photograph from the Spanish Civil War. I think it's called, like, At the Moment of Dying or something like that. And what movie is this from? Damn right it is. Okay, that's good trivia. All right, so now there was no purpose to that except just to give you a little trivia test. Okay, so let's review some of what we've covered so far. By the way, our electronic system up here has gone totally berserk haywire, so you'll have to show a little bit of patience at times. So we started talking about identity with the Zimbardo experiment. We started with the Zimbardo experiment. Why did we start with the Zimbardo experiment? The reason we started with the Zimbardo experiment was that it's a really good example of two things. One, the power of the situation, which doesn't particularly have anything special to do with identities. And then it's really, and we talked about that. We talked about the power of the situation. And in a way, we've been talking about the power of the situation the entire semester, right? But the other thing that the Zimbardo experiment is a really good example of is the power of roles and role identities and how subtle role cues can go a long way. And, all right, I have to go forward like this. So, we got a definition in here some damn place about roles. Roles are a set of expectations for appropriate behavior that are associated with a social position in a group. And one of the big reasons I want you to see this experiment, the film about this experiment, is because it's very good evidence that even very subtle cues that you should take on your role will have large effects, and you'll take it on very fluently. And so naturally, we segue from that to Goffman, who is the leading role theorist in the history of sociology. And the reason we think of Goffman as the leading role theorist in the history of sociology is because he's responsible for this idea called dramaturgical analysis, which says that roles aren't just important in everyday life, they are the basic structure of everyday life. Fundamentally, when you go into social interactions with other people, when you enter a social setting or a situation, you are playing a part, you're playing a role in a larger play. And everybody is sort of trying to maneuver around and make sure they've all got roughly the same script, the same set of expectations, and they get their lines right, and they maintain their character, their appropriate role in that situation. And so Goffman saw the world as a play. Here in this lecture, I told you a little bit more about identity. I defined identity as different selves that an individual may take on in social interaction. And I underscored three fundamental levels of identity, which are personal, role, and social. How are these different? What are these different levels of identity? Personal identities are traits of an individual. They're aspects of your own individual identification that are essentially akin to personality. So personal identities could refer to approaches to interpersonal behavior, like being extroverted, being introverted, being polite, being shy, and so on. There might be something distinctive about you that you have some level of these things that describes you, and it's part of your personal identity. Also, emotional or psychological traits, or kind of chronic dispositional traits, like being very stable or being very optimistic or moody. These are individual traits of you. They're personal identities. The next level up is the level that Goffman's talking about, role identities, and these are essentially positions in some group. And examples of role identities are student, friend, mother, father, soldier, manager, teacher, and so on. So when you're in a situation, often cues will cue you to take on some role, and your role will usually fit in some complementary fashion with the roles that are primed for other people to take on. And then there's another level of identity, which I introduced to you, which is social identity. And this refers to a group level identity. Now, roles are sort of a group level identity too, but remember that when you have a role, you have some part to play in the group, right? Like maybe I'm the teacher here and you're the student. But when a social identity is made active, we're all sort of brought together, and we all have, not really a role, but if we did have a role, it'd be the same role. So when we go to a college football game, then we're all brought together and we're all the same because it's social or group level identity is made active. So some examples of that are national identification, racial or ethnic identification, political party identification. And when these identities are made active, you don't try to fit into a play where you play some distinctive role and other people play a different role. You try to be together and relatively the same with other people as everybody does roughly the same thing. Okay, so having said that, we'll now go in more depth on social identity theory, which is the leading theory of how group and social identities, which is the same thing, group/social identities, how they become active and how they direct behavior, what their effects are. Okay? Okay, so social identity theory is a very big theory. It covers a lot of ground. It starts with big abstractions, but it's very interesting, and it's very fundamental to understanding intergroup relations and intergroup conflict. Okay. I'm not ready to start some intergroup conflict here. Okay, so social identity theory offers many insights on the nature of intergroup conflict. It also explains how group identification processes happen, how you come to identify with some social group, and the effects that in turn has on you and the way you enact yourself. So how people come to identify with groups, the consequences of group identification are what social identity theory is trying to explain. So here's some basic principles of social identity theory. Here's how the theory works. Okay, first, social identity theory starts with this idea that people have a natural tendency to categorize when they see contrast. And it starts with this idea that if you're going to see yourself as a member of a category, you're probably going to need some kind of contrast in order to see yourself as such. So contrast is necessary for category formation. There's no perceiving light without some knowledge or awareness of dark. There's no idea of what rural life would be without there being urban life. There'd be no sense of what it means to be poor unless there were rich people. And so your sense of your group category that you fit in requires that there be some contrast, that there be some other group that has different traits so that you can then see this group that you're in. So there is no group that you can identify with or feel that you're a member of until you see some outgroup. And this is, a very good example of this is, what time of the year are we most identifying as Cal football fans? The 95% of us that are loyal and true. What week is that? The week of the big game, exactly. Why is it the week of the big game that we didn't identify so strongly as Cal football fans? Because we're about to go to war with our salient outgroup. Our outgroup is never more salient than that week out of the year. And I won't even mention their names. I won't even. It's disgusting. Okay, so I'm really sorry. I'm always bringing that up, and it's so unpleasant. So we tend to identify, here's some more principles of social identity theory, and I'll give you more detail and more examples on these. Thank you. We tend to identify with people who are similar to us and against those who are dissimilar. But this works in reverse as well. So we tend to see ourselves as more similar to our in-group and less like the out-group. So can you all please be quiet? Thank you. Okay, so this is a reciprocal process. We tend to form into groups with people we perceive as similar to us, and then perceive ourselves as dissimilar from the out. Or sorry, okay, we tend to form into groups with people we see as being similar to us, and we tend to form in groups in opposition to people we see as dissimilar to us. But then there's this reciprocal effect where the people that we find ourselves in groups with, we tend to see ourselves as more similar to them than we did before when group formation started, and more dissimilar from the out group. So why is it during the big game week that we identify with Cal folks and not with Stanford folks? Well, we have some sense that we have some shared similar characteristics with other Cal students, right, or Cal people. We're all here at Cal, for example. That would be the simplest way. But we also have some other sense that we're the kind of people who go to public schools. We're not the kind of people that are mean and rude to other people. We're kind, we're generous, we stop on ethical experiments. There's a variety of things that we think we have in common. We're better at football, that kind of stuff. And then we don't identify with them because we think they have a bunch of traits that we don't have. So they're Stanford, they're there. They're the kind of people who go to a private school, an exclusionary private school, wouldn't let other people in, whatever. And we don't identify they're very bad at football, not athletic. They're snobs and all that stuff. So on that basis, we pick our group, right, the one that we're more similar to. But then in turn, we tend to then see ourselves as more similar to that group that we wound up in, or that we identified with. So though you know which side to line up with on Monday of big game week, by Saturday morning, you should see yourself as very similar to the people in your in group, and very dissimilar to the out group, because group identification exaggerates this process of seeing similarity within the group and dissimilarity between groups. Okay. We'll talk about that some more as we start talking about some of the research. And note that this can be the case even if the two groups are not really that different. Obviously, that doesn't apply in this case. Those people are very, very different from us. But you can imagine some other case where groups identify against one another, but there really isn't that big of a difference between the two groups. I'm trying to think of an example. That's my job to think of an example of this now, and I'm sort of struggling too. Well, study 2 will give a good example of this. There's a question back there. Yes. You can't see the yellow on the thing. Yeah. Sorry about that. Yeah, there's nothing I can really do. Can you guys literally not see the yellow at all? Or? That's great. You guys are like, no, we can't see anything you're doing. Okay. What's that? Yeah, to me it's not even yellow. Like I said, this technological interface just went haywire about a week ago. Like the DVD player doesn't work anymore. I have to do all these weird output things. Like I'm looking at 2 out of 3 blank screens up here. So I not only can't see what you're seeing, I can't see what I'm seeing, which is like not even possible. Yeah. So all right, well let's take a 2-minute break. I'll try and fix that. Okay. All right, talk amongst yourselves. Get to know one another. Commune as fellow Cal students. Okay, if I get your attention, we're back in action. We're back. All right, we're hungry for more. By the way, have you noticed the attendance is much lower in here? Well, thank all of you for showing up. Thanks a lot. You guys are all clearly cruising towards A's in this class. And let's say that there might be a quiz on Tuesday, which won't necessarily be very hard. It'll be more, are you here? Okay, all right. But study for it. Be up on your reading and stuff, because it won't be easy either. Okay. All right. 7. What's that? What day is today? Today is Thursday, right? Yeah. Yes. So next class meeting, next Tuesday. Yeah. Yes. Sunny. What's that? Am I going to put this on the readings? Yes. Yeah, but that's not going to be a problem for you because you're always up on all the readings the week of the readings. So, right. Because you guys are the ones that are here. So you're like the together students. And to be honest, even if you guess, you're going to do better than you are here. So, shit. Okay, so now we can actually follow this lecture. And that's more gratifying, more educational. Yes, sir. Yes, I am trying to create a salient outgroup that is inferior, and I don't want to make aspersions about this other group because if they're back next Tuesday, then we'll just welcome them back with open arms. Now, how you feel, but I would welcome them back. For now, they're somewhat other than us, and that's. But if they come back, what? We'll just take them back. Well, why not? Why not? You know why? Because it's a public institution, and I know some schools that wouldn't, but we would. We're forgiving. We're good people. Okay, so we tend to identify with those who are similar to us. We can now see the screen. So back to this. Okay, we tend to identify with those who are similar to us and against those who are dissimilar. But then in turn, following group identification, we then perceive. Hey, I need everybody to stop talking. Thank you. This. Okay. again, I'd like to repeat, I'm going to start kicking people out if I have to tell you a couple times. There just has to be an understanding that you just can't talk to your neighbors when you're here. It seems like television, I went through this earlier, like the worst television show you've ever been subjected to. It seems like you're sitting here watching public access television, but I'm a live human being, and I'm distracted by you talking. And I'm trying very hard to give a decent lecture to you. So please don't talk as a courtesy to me. Okay, so this works in reverse as well. That following group identification, we tend to perceive ourselves as more similar to the people that are in our group and more dissimilar from the people that are in the out group. So group identification comes from a few things. Perceived similarity, the presence of a dissimilar out group, the salience of group membership in some situations. Situations can make the fact that we're in a group and not in the other group more or less salient. And okay, so those are the three things. So we will tend to be identifying with our group more as we perceive a similarity with those people, perceive a dissimilarity from some out group, and as the salience of group membership in the situation increases. So again, I would emphasize that this contrast between groups, you have to be able to see the out group, see the opposite of the group, and or even see your own group is essential to group identification formation. And you're going to see more and more of that exemplified as we talk about the specific studies that support social identity theory. Okay, so what are some consequences of group identification? I already touched on these at the top, but what are some other consequences of group identification? Okay, outgroup animosity, mocking, making fun of some salient outgroup for being a snobby private school. I'll give an example of that. Perceptions of outgroups as evil, immoral, or dishonest. In-group favoritism is another consequence of group identification. People tend to have greater liking and respect for the fellow members of their in-group. They also tend to cooperate with them more and help them more. They're more likely to suffer some individual cost to help a fellow in-group member because they don't even receive it as a cost. They perceive the other person as part of their group. Also, they tend to perceive fellow in-group members as more competent and quality in-group. Whatever, I don't know what that means. They feel greater solidarity with fellow in-group members and so on. Okay, and this is in some ways, yes, sir. I would say, okay, so the question is, at what point does group identification lead to a relatively solidary feeling of groupness? Right, take that to be roughly your question. I think one of the key things here is social identity theory doesn't so much talk about discrete groups as it does talk about a continuous feeling of group identification and groupness. And so the more you perceive yourself as similar to some group of people, the more you'll start to feel that you have a group. And then also, the more that there's salient out group or one or more out groups, the more you'll feel that feeling of groupness. So they would say it's a sort of continuous thing, and that there's levels of feeling of group identification and groupness. So you can imagine when you were in high school, you maybe conglomerated with some people that were similar to you. And as you spend more and more time with them, you maybe became somewhat more similar to one another. Your attitude started to fall in line a little bit, and you started to develop a shared feeling of groupness. And especially maybe if some other out group was hated by you, like the jocks or whatever, I don't know, then you maybe then felt even more groupness. And then when that out group came and stole all of your lunch money one day, then you really felt a feeling of groupness as you have a salient out group. And so again, that feeling of group identification is proportional to a feeling of similarity to the people in your group and dissimilarity from people outside your group. Okay, so I think when social identity theory really gets interesting is when it starts to tell you stories about when these group differences dissolve, when they go away. And that's basically a story of overarching identities. So overarching identities can be activated, which reduce within group identification and reduce intergroup hostilities. Okay, so if you're going so far through the lecture saying, okay, now I kind of understand some basic ingredients of how groups come to identify against one another, but how do they overcome that and then find some sort of similarity or peace between groups that pulls them together? Is this does social identity theory only tell us the story of when feelings of contrast, similarity, and dissimilarity drive groups of people apart, or does it also tell us the story of when they might be brought back together? And it does tell us the story of how they can be brought back together. And that story is one of overarching identities. So one way that groups can be brought together is by having a common enemy. And this is perhaps the most commonly thought of basis for overarching identities to be triggered. And notice that when we say that two groups can be brought together by having a common enemy, we're basically saying that the same principles of social identity theory can be used to describe when groups come together, right? Because I was saying that when you have some salient out group that you feel dissimilar from, and maybe feel some sort of conflict towards, then you tend to identify more with your group. Well, the same thing applies for why you might then overcome that hostility towards that out group. You might overcome that hostility towards that out group when both of you share another out group that's even more dissimilar, even more hated perhaps. That will pull you together with somebody who might once have been an enemy. And I think this echoes balance theory, right? Where you're more likely to switch to having a positive tie towards somebody if you have the same shared negative tie towards something else. And so this can apply at group level. So maybe our group and some other group doesn't like one another at time one, but then at time two, as we find that we both have this salient major hatred for some third group, then we start to switch maybe in order to achieve balance. Okay, so think about these Armageddon type movies, these end of the world movies, right? What is it in these movies that brings people together across like international lines? Just think back, pick any one of these movies. Most of them have Will Smith in them. So just think of like the last Will Smith movie you saw, and think about what brought people together in that film. It's some sort of alien attack, right? So the alien attack is the thing that creates world peace and harmony. All of a sudden, the UN works really well, and we're all together. We're going around signing treaties, loving one another. Like Independence Day. Independence Day is a hilarious movie, by the way. This movie is so hilarious, and I can't tell you how many times I've watched this at like 3 p.m. on a Saturday because I almost feel like it's on some channel every afternoon, every weekend day. It's on some channel. USA, TBS knows, but you'll find it. It's like your best friend, but it's sort of an annoying friend, who's always knocking on your door. So, Independence Day really sits the line on group identification in a hilarious way, right? Like they sort of act like it's a jingoistic American film, right? It's called friggin' Independence Day, and you got the president like taking out aliens and stuff. So it's like very, very like go America. But then on the other hand, it also has this whole story about these countries and nations coming together to fight the aliens. You only see these other countries and nations for like brief little snapshots just to establish the basic credibility of the plot, because it would be implausible for the aliens to just come here to just attack America. That would be ridiculous. But point being, in this film, we suddenly have no international problems, right? Why? Because the aliens have come to attack us, and we all have this problem. We all share information. When like Will Smith figures out how to take out the aliens, they immediately tell everybody around the world. And the same is true in like Armageddon or Deep Impact, or what's the one about global warming? Right, the one about global warming / cooling or whatever. Yeah. Which, by the way, I like that movie even more than Independence Day. I mean, that is just a ridiculous film. This idea that global warming will lead to this like instant freeze, like in situations, and you'll freeze in seconds. I just love this.